Hello friends, can you believe that it is already September? Time is flying by. So today for my Heartfelt Friday card, I have done something a little bit different. I did not get the Cascading Petals collection when it first released. So I bought the Wisteria Petals stamp and die from the warehouse clearance section. But I was unable to get several of the other pieces. I only got the stamp and die that's called Wisteria Petals. So today I decided to make a card using the Wisteria. And let me tell you, it's a challenging flower to make. So let's go ahead and change this camera view and take a look at the card we're going to make today. All right, so here's the card I came up with, and I was kind of going for a bit of maybe like an Italian look or European. I thought I wanted something that kind of looked like a wrought iron and a pretty like an old window from something, and then the beautiful wisteria. Now the wisteria I found to be very challenging to make, and I made this flower probably a half dozen times or more trying to get it a way that I liked it. And I'm going to share with you some of the tips that I kind of figured out that helped me as I was going along. But some of you may have discovered some different ways to make these as well. So I would love it if you would share your ideas in the comments if you have any tips for me, because even with the ideas I came up with, I still don't feel like I have it down to perfection yet. So all right, let's go ahead and take a look at the sets that we're going to use to make our card. So the main base is the Elegant Swirl Gateway. And the large outline die, we're going to cut this out on a folded piece of paper to make a card base. And I just did that out of white. And then I made my hinge hider out of this as well. And for today, I did that out of black paper. On my original card, I did that out of white, and then I made a pattern paper in green to go on top of it. So instead of the wrought iron look for today's project, I die cut the decorative piece here out of white instead of black, because I wanted to see if I liked this combination better than this combination. So I'm also going to show you one of my other attempts at this card. This is one of my others. I didn't like the dark purple as much underneath. I felt like that kind of took away. It was just too big of a contrast. So that's when I went to the green, and I did like the green better. But now I'm going to try it with the black in the background with white on it. So we'll just changing it up to see which way I like best. So all right, those will be the pieces that you need to cut using this. Excuse me. We're also going to be using the eyelet frame gateway die, and we'll be using a couple of the arches, not the scallop pieces, but the arch pieces. Then we'll be using the large stamp from the French door collection. We'll be using the Wisteria Petals, and I stamped this 4 times, and I stamped this one 3 times. But I think I only used 2, so just a couple of those will be fine. Then I also am using the Elegant Gateway Sentiment, and I chose the Thinking of You and today. So either one of these though would work for our project. All right, I'm going to pull this one back over here real quick because we're going to have to use it fairly soon. But I'm going to go ahead and start with what I stamped. So here are the pieces that I have for us to color on. I stamped these 2 images in the plum color. I thought the plum kind of made a brown, or it complemented the purple colors of my flowers. I didn't like the red with the purple, so I went with the plum. For my branches, I stamped those in the coffee. And then all of the petals, I stamped those in the deep purple. So these were the colors that I did my stamping in. So we're going to start with coloring our door. And I used the Pebble Beach. And I came in with a makeup brush. I got ink on my makeup brush. And then right at the bottom of each of these bricks, I just put it down and flipped up. See that? I did that all the way around. Do that one over, but I just laid my brush down and made a flicking motion. And I did that all the way around the entire door. Okay, once I did it that direction, I turned my paper around and I started on the other side. And this is how I colored my bricks to kind of give it, you know, that dimension, to create those shadows and color my bricks. So what this does is towards the center of each of the brick, it leaves it much lighter in color. And then once I had quite a bit of the ink off, I went ahead and did my stair the same way. And I just went ahead and pulled that ink a little bit darker into the centers. Now once I had quite a bit of ink off, if I felt like there were any huge white spots, I just went ahead and lightly, but I didn't want to color them to the point where I took away from my lights that are in the center. So that is how I colored my door, my window frame. It is a door, but we're using it as a window. So I put a little more of the gray, and right here around the top where these open spots are, I'm just going to add a little bit of the gray in there because we want these bricks to kind of look older. And we're only going to be using this top portion, so I don't need to color it all the way down to here. But this little section along the bottom, I do need that. So I am going to go ahead and just run my makeup brush across there, giving that a little bit of the gray color as well, because we will use that little strip on the bottom. All right, so now I'm going to come back in with my plum color. And I'm going to get one of our daubers, get my ink, but I'm going to tap my ink off on another paper because I want this to be very, just kind of light. So this was stamped in plum, and now I'm just running my dauber over those areas, making sure those areas where I added the gray, I'm making sure I get those as well. All right, and that's all I'm going to do to color up my door. That's all that we're going to use of the door. We are not going to use the actual door piece, but if you wanted to go ahead and color it right now, you could use this on another card just to have it ready. All right, so once I had it colored like this, I went ahead and I die cut the frame out. Oops. Oh, here it is. Let's see here. All right, so you'll have to use both of the outside pieces. You'll need this one and you'll need this one. And you'll cut that out just like that. And that's going to give you this piece right here. All right, so once those are cut out, you're going to have, you know, this brick part left. In fact, let me go ahead and I'm just going to cut this out real quickly. That way I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Take just a second. I'll run that through my machine while I get the other die for us. All right, so in this set, we're going to use, I believe, is it this one? Got it taped so well I can't get it out. I believe it's this one, yes. Okay, so of the arches, it's actually the fourth piece in. So it's an eyelet, an arch, an eyelet, an arch. So it's that second arch inside. Okay, not the eyelet arch, but the plain arch. So if you look on my card, you can see this top edge, and I wanted that to kind of look like a brick wall. So this arch, go ahead and take that part out, clear off my space here so you can see what I've got going. I took this arch and I'm going to line it up so the bottom catches this little spot right here, because I need this along the bottom. Then I don't want it to be like this. I want to center these two things right inside this door, because I want this arch to fit perfectly up around that door. So this is how I got that. I wanted this to be seen, and I wanted these to be lined up, the two edges of my die lined up with my brick. It's not going to overlap it, but it's going to be right inside. Then I went ahead and I ran this through my machine just like this. And that gave me this little piece, and it gave me this little piece. Okay? All right, so these are the pieces from the French door. These are the ones that we're going to use. All right, for now we'll go ahead and set these aside. And the next things we're going to do is to color up our other pieces. All right, so for my thinking of you, we're going to use these two colors, and we're going to use these two greens. And I'm also going to be using a makeup brush for one of my greens. So I'm going to use my my makeup brushes again. I'm only using a dauber a couple of times in this project. Almost everything I do, I'm doing with my makeup brushes. All right, so to start, I'm going to use the magenta hue. I'm going to color these roses. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to come in with the Majestic Violet. I'm going to add just a little bit of that darker color at the base of my roses, just to give some variation. All right. That makes us done with those until we get to our flowers. And now we're going to go ahead and do our leaves. And the same, I'm going to come in with my dauber and at the base of each of the leaf, I'm going to add just a tap of the emerald green. All right. Then I'm going to come in with the vivid chartreuse and finish those off. I colored the leaves on this the exact same way that I did these leaves. I did just down at the base of them with emerald green, and then went over the whole thing with the vivid chartreuse. Now I'm also going to come in with my darker deep purple. And with this deep purple, I'm going to take the tip of my makeup brush and tap it in there, and then I'm just going to tap it on these little pieces that are coming out of my decorative, just to kind of give that, see how I'm doing that? I'm not really coloring it in, I'm just tapping some color on it. And here. All right. Now for the final thing that I'm going to do for this, I'm going to come back with my magenta hue. And kind of in the same way that I did the French door, the window frame, I'm going to kind of do that to my thinking of you, or the thinking banner here. So right here where that's colored deep, I'm going to set my dauber there and just flick out. I'm also going to color that back in there where I figure it'll be darker. And I'm going to turn it and do the same thing. I'm going to set it right there and then flick out. And then color that in a little darker there. All right, and that's how I colored that banner. Okay, the final thing I'm going to do to my sentiment here is I'm going to take a large makeup brush, and if these large makeup brushes are excuse me, great for doing a large area. So I'm going to get some ink on it, and I'm going to kind of tap off to the side, but then I'm just going to lightly go over the whole thing. I'm kind of avoiding the banner, but not really, because I'm not going heavy enough. And you can't even hardly see that in the, I'll hold it up. Can you kind of see that green on there? In person, you can see it much more, but it's kind of hard to capture. But that's how light I'm doing it. But that really does show up behind your window. All right, so that is how I did that. And to die cut this one, we're going to go back to that same set, but we're going to skip another eyelet one and then do the next arch. So from the one we used, it's one arch size down from the arch that we used to cut our brick. And I didn't cut my paper large enough, but I would just go ahead and die cut that out right there. So I already have one done for us, and of course my paper was large enough, and I die cut the whole thing for this one. So, all right, so going on to our flowers. To do my flowers, I'm using 4 colors. I use these 4 colors right here. And I am going to start with the ultramarine blue. I have a blue. There it is. All right, again, I'm doing this with my makeup brushes. Got blue, and then I just kind of zigzagged across. You see that? Absolutely no rhyme or reason. I'm just getting a little bit of blue, and it does, like where I stop to move back and forth, it leaves like a heavy spot. That's good. The next one I'm going to use is the deep purple. And same thing, I'm just going to zigzag that over it. Now I'm going to come in with the majestic purple. And same thing, zig, kind of make them more curly cues. And for the final one is the magenta hue. And this will give me some more lights in there. Just like that. Now because the blue is on the very bottom, I did come back with a little bit of the French ultramarine here and just just darkened up some of the blue if I saw any petals that needed that. All right, and that's how I colored my wisteria. Now, to make these flowers, you see both sides. So I just flipped my paper over, and I know that right about here is where my flowers are. So the same thing, I'm going to use a large makeup brush, and I'm just going to color this whole area right here where I know my flowers are. And I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm going to start though with the lighter one because my purple brush, I use the same one for both. So zigzag that over. That was the majestic violet. Now I'm going to do the deep purple. Oops. And I'll finish that off with the magenta hue. And just like on the front side, I'm going to come back and add just a little bit more blue because we kind of lose some of that blue down in there. All right, so now when I die cut, my flowers are automatically going to be colored on the back side. Now to color this, I colored these just in the majestic violet, my little wisteria. The leaves I did exactly like these, and then my branch I just used a brown dauber, and I did my branch. So in the end, those look like these. Okay. All right, so that's how I colored everything up. Let's get our inks aside. Move my brushes. And the next thing we need to do is to take our window frame, and you're going to go ahead and add some double-sided adhesive onto the back side, making sure that there's no openings. You want to have it completely closed up. And then we're going to take a piece of acetate. If I can get mine. There it is. Whoops. I thought I had some opened over here. Here it is. Here's the opened one. And for mine, my acetate's a little bit bigger than my window. That's okay with me because I'm just going to cut it down. So I'm going to go ahead, pull off my score tape or my double-sided adhesive. And then I'm just going to lay my acetate on the whole piece. Now, if you wanted to, you could take this window die and cut your acetate out, but I seem to have trouble getting my acetate to cut real well in the inside the die cut machine, so I find it easier just to put it on there and to just cut around it real quickly. This is an easy image to cut around, so that's how I did mine. But you can definitely run your acetate through your die cut machine. I do so much die cutting that sometimes I'm like, I'll just do this way. And I just trimmed right around there. There we go. So now I have my window piece. My acetate is on there. Press that down real well. Now the next step is we're going to put foam all the way around our window. And I'm using a, you know what, I forgot to, I believe this is from Heffy Doodle, and it's a 1/4 inch thick, but I think it's an 1/8 of an inch depth there. Hopefully 1/8, yes, I said it right. All right, and I'm just going to put that right here around my window. And again, you just want to make sure that you get that all touching up nice so none of your decorative pieces can come out. You all know how to make a shaker, so. All right. All right, so we've got our window ready. We'll set that aside for a moment. And get my other pieces, make sure we have everything. Yes. Okay, so now that we have this ready, let's go ahead and start making our wisteria. Whew. I tell you. Here's my little container of goodies, and dump those out that way. Okay, so here's my wisteria that you just, so once you die cut it, you'll have a nice big pile that look like this. So we'll put this part aside for now, and I'll show you each step as we get there. But there is not a die, or there is not a shaping mold that go along with these little pieces, or at least I don't have one. I don't think there is one. So turn them face down on your shaping mat, and then you're going to take a shaping tool, your stylus, and make a circle on the back side of each petal, kind of pulling it towards the middle, and that makes it pop up real well. Okay, so you're just going to press down real well. So you do that to all of them. Now, if you want it to be a little single flower like this, sorry, a little single flower like this one, then you're going to turn it over and press down in the center. And then I'll take my awl here and poke a hole right in the center. Then we'll finish that in a moment. But if it's going to be part of our hanging wisteria, then we want to leave it like this. And we're going to go ahead and poke a hole in it while it's still on its, just like how we shaped it. We leave it laying that way. And then we kind of some of them I took and kind of rolled between my fingers, kind of get it to curl up, and then some of them I left more open. All right, so I'll go ahead and do these last two to be a part of our hanging wisteria. Okay. All right. So I'm using a couple of the medium-sized stamens that are on the wire, and I chose the purple color. Oh, one thing I did forget to tell you, after I die cut them, some of them I went around the edges with the majestic violet, and then some of them I went around with the ultramarine, the French ultramarine blue, and that was just to kind of give it some variation when it's completely done. Okay, so this is kind of like what we're going for here. That's the back side, and this is the front side. And I didn't make mine super long on purpose because on my card I don't have that much space to have it hanging too far. All right. So I found this is a flower that's easiest done with a glue gun. I'll go ahead and turn that on. And I also liked having reverse tweezers on hand. Okay, I don't think we'll need that anymore. Now let me just sort out my petals. And apparently they suggest, from Heartfelt, they suggested using an odd number on each one. So you're either going to use 9, 7, 9, or 11. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see. Okay, so that's 11 right there. All right. Because once I get going, I may totally lose track, and I don't want to get going and add way too many. Okay. So you need to take 2 of the stamens, and I twisted it around just one time down at the bottom, not a lot, just enough to get them to so they didn't come apart. And now this one that I rolled between my fingers to make real tight, I'm going to go ahead and thread that, my 2 stamens, into that. Bring it down. Then I'm going to add some hot glue right down here at the tips. My glue gun's not quite ready. Okay. There we go. Add some glue right down there and then pull it tight. Okay. My glue's really hot now, so there you go. So we've got the first one down there. Now we're going to do the same thing. Let's see, I want one that looks a little on the tight side, so I don't seem to have one, so I'm just going to make this one a little tighter by rolling it between my fingers, getting those petals to kind of curl. I'm putting both wires through the same hole. Okay, get that down. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of glue just right there, and I'm going to pull this down. Now I don't want to pull it super tight. I want to leave a little bit of room between the two, and if you can kind of try to offset the petals. Sometimes I was more successful at that than other times, but there you go. I'm going to let that glue cool. Now I'm going to do one more so that I have 3. And my first 2 looked like I had the majestic violet on the tip, so I'm going to purposely pick one that's got the blue just to give me some variation. You know what? That one doesn't have a hole popped in it. Here it is. We're just gonna, there we go. Okay. This is the easy part. The next step is the hard part. I said a prayer before I started this video that it works well, because boy, it's tricky. Okay. Now, same thing, I'm going to pull that down, add just a small dollop of hot glue just right there, and pull this down, trying to kind of offset my petals. And I don't want to pull it too down. I don't want to completely cover up. This is where it helps to have your tweezers, because that's hot. You see kind of what I'm doing? There we go. All right, now, so we've got 3 kind of bells on there layered up. Now we're going to take our 2 wires and separate them. Just pull them apart like this. Now we're going to add 1 on one wire and then 1 on the next, and we're going to do that. So there's just 3 that are on the same 2 wires, and now we're going to go every other one. And to do these, I kind of let them be a bit more open. I did this. So you see how I have that in my finger? I've got the wire on this petal, and I'm holding that petal with the wire together. And I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on that petal and on this petal. Then I'm going to use the petal I didn't put it on and bring it down and attach it. So I've still got that 1 petal sticking up. The 2 that I put glue on, I went ahead and I'm holding down until that glue dries. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of glue to that last petal and close it down. I don't know what brand of glue I bought, but boy, it does not cool very fast at all, and it's horrible strings. So I am definitely not buying this brand again. I think it was just, I've never seen hot glue that takes so long to cool. Okay, so now we're going to put one on the other side, and same thing. I'm going to turn it over, put 1 petal with the wire, and bend the other 2 petals back. Add just a little bit of glue to these 2 petals that I'm not holding on to. Use the petal I'm holding on to. Whoops, I dropped it. Okay, now close it down, and the 2 that I put the glue on, I'm gluing it down. So hopefully this is making some sense. And now I'm going to use my tweezers to bring that one down. I'll just hold that. Yeah. Okay. All right, so you see how it's starting to kind of go up one side and the other side? Okay. Is that cool yet? See, it's still not cool. I don't know what the deal is with this glue. Hopefully, this is a new stick here, and the new stick that's in it is the Gorilla Glue, and I know that those work really well. So I think it's just that what's down in the tip needs to come out. All right, we're going to do the same thing again. I hope that this is making good sense. It's always a little hard. I'm going to try not to drop it. I did it again. It gets heavier once you add that glue on there, and then, all right. Hold that in place. So I'm just holding the 2 petals that I added the glue to, and then I'm going to come around and close this one. Yeah. There we go. After this dries, I'll hold it up so you can kind of see our progress. Okay, you see how that's starting to go 2 ways now? All right. So on my next ones, I'm not going to pull it down quite so far. I'm going to try to have them a little bit further apart so I have more room. There we go. Third one. I'm trying to put as little glue on there as I can get away with. The first one of these I made, I just had glue oozing out and slopping over. It was all over my hands. It was making a huge mess. All right. I think we're doing pretty good here. I see some of my petals got a little too close together. It'll just be a shorter, more compact wisteria. This is where it comes in handy to have these tweezers just to hold it down because it does get hot. All right, we're going to do two more, one on each side, and then we're going to stick one in the middle. Okay. I'm just holding that glue down. I know it's a little hard to see. The rest of my card comes together very easily. Now the one that doesn't have glue happens to be on the inside this time. So put a little bit of glue in there and then just hold it down. Okay. Now, the way this is going, I might have miscounted, but this looks pretty even. Let me see. Let's see if it needs this one. Yeah, I think that'll actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, we'll just follow the instructions. So one on each petal there. And bring it down. Whoops. Glue. Okay. So that side did pretty good. All right, now let me pull the hairs off. Okay. Now we'll put just a little bit on this. As far as flowers go, this one was probably one of the most challenging ones that I've ever had. Okay. So that's looking pretty good, and we've got our two sides. Now for the last thing we're going to do, you take your last one, and I'm going to roll it up pretty tight here in my fingers. Get that to roll. There it goes. Okay. Now I'm going to hold it on its side, get just a little bit of glue on its side, and I'm going to glue it right here in between my two strands that I made. All right, there we go. So if you kept going on up, you would add more of these. Now I only did it to where I'm adding one, but you can go on up to where you're adding more, and you get this going, your two side by side, and then you every so often you put one in the center holding down. Now I think I have another one here. I think I'll try how that looks. Do we want one up there? I don't know. I made this one a bit taller than I did the last one. We'll see. I'm still experimenting. Okay, let's see. Do we like that up there? Let's go ahead and pop it up there and see. We can always cover it up with our leaves if we don't like it. Let's see. Okay. All right, so now that we have the body of our wisteria done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off our 2 strands here of our top. And because I don't have the leaves, I had to go in search of leaves that would work for me, and I found some in the classic rose. So this is a pretty old set, but pretty much you could grab some greenery from all kinds of places. This just happened to be what I found first. And I'm gonna cut off a couple of these leaves, and then I'm gonna cut off one more. And these 2 that are together, I'm going to glue those right on top here. So I'm just going to add some glue right here to the top of my flower that I've made. And hold it down there. I'm so sorry it's hard to see. And it looks like my glue gun went off on me. Okay. Now this other one that I glued off, I'm just going to add it right on top, just to give it another layer. There we go. And you could add more if you wanted to, but this was just to kind of, I'm going to glue this one down. There we go. So I left some of them kind of aiming up and some of them laying down. So the back side is pretty flat, and the front side has a little more dimension. So I'm going to hold that up, and hopefully that looks like a wisteria. I found this one to be hard to make, and I definitely have not perfected it. So I have a feeling that most of the time I'll be using the old wisteria as a single petal like this, or layering it double but shaped like this more often than I do this, because I found this to be challenging and a little time consuming. I'm not a lover of hot glue, so here I have 2. One of them's a bit longer than the other, and I think having 2 will give it more of that wisteria look, because when you have a couple of them together. And I noticed mine was pretty compact. See how my petals are pretty close together? I saw some of the design team members where they have their petals much more distance between their petals, like just the edges are barely touching. So I'll have to keep practicing with it, but I made myself about a half dozen shaped like this to put in and around my card. So now that we have, I am going to keep my glue gun because we're going to need it to add our wisteria once we get to that point. All right, these 2. And I'm going to go ahead and cut all these wires off because they're kind of in my way. So you're watching this video of me teaching you how to make the wisteria, but I have a feeling that some of you could probably teach me how to make the wisteria. So if any of you have tips, I would love to hear them, because I do think it's a beautiful flower. So do any of you watch the Bridgertons? The Bridgertons' house on that TV show has beautiful wisteria hanging over their gate, and that's what I was thinking of when I was trying to make it. Dropped a piece. There we go. Okay, so now that we've got all of our pieces made, let's go ahead and put our card together. And here are some shaker bits. This one is a Catherine Pooler Providence, and it's just a glitter pack. And then this is a Studio Katia with hot pink sequins in it. So those are the 2 that I used. So here's my card base, and I'm going to add my adhesive onto the card base first. And then I'm going to add this one on top of that. Okay, now for this piece, we're going to work on it. All right, so we have to center it up, kind of lay down all of our pieces with the window before we lift it up. And this little piece right here that we made is going to go right down here along the bottom edge. All right, so it's going to look about like that. I'm going to go ahead and glue this piece at the bottom edge. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue down the Thinking of You. And one of the most important things is that you side to side wise, we keep that pretty good. I like that. That went pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my brick here, right here at the top. There we go. Did I get it down far enough? I think so. Might have to move that down just a little bit. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and load our shaker bits in there. Okay. I keep my shaker bits upside down so I can see them, and I forget and I open them and they're barely contained in the lid. I do that all the time. Okay, now we're going to add our Studio Katya bits. Whoa. All right. It helps if you kind of spread them out. That way they'll be able to move better. Now before I go any further, I'm going to take, this is a little anti-static tool, and it's on a little, almost like a makeup, like a lipstick brush. And I'm going to run this anti-static tool right along the inside of this adhesive that's in there. That will help my shaker bits not to get stuck on the edges of my adhesive. All right. I have a piece of one of those strings from the glue. All right. Got a little too low. All right, now to pop up this piece onto my card base, I use some of this leftover stuff. The foam dots are in the center, but you always have these pieces that I don't throw these away. I hold on to them to use them for things like this. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that down a little. Turn this over, and I'm going to pop this piece up right here. Because it does not matter what this stuff looks like. Is that back there enough? Yeah. Cut these apart and go ahead and use all of it. So because the wisteria is so, I'm not very good at making it, this video is probably going to be a little bit longer than normal. So hopefully it's not too bad. I try not to go over 35-40 minutes, so hopefully we're still okay. Whoops. All right, so now we're just going to center that right in here and add our piece. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit of shape to these pieces. And I'm going to tear it apart so that my arch is one way and the piece that hangs down is the other way. I'm going to do that to both pieces. Okay, Okay. And I'm doing that so that my arch piece I can kind of hang over, because I don't want to block my thinking, the word thinking. And when it was together, it made these pieces hang right down into where the word thinking was. So I didn't want to do that. So now we're just going to add our pretty trellis here onto our window. Some of these others I'm going to add a bit higher. I think this might work better on my fingers if I use my tweezers. Give me a little more placement room. There we go. So I kind of, can you see how I layered those up? Okay. And same with this one. Yeah. I've got a little cut off piece. There we go. I want it to be under that edge, not on top. There we go. Stuck my finger right in the glue. Okay, so now that I have my vines down, I'm going to go ahead and add my three-dimensional pieces. And then this shorter one, I'm going to add up here a bit. Oh yeah. I think I'm getting better each time. I think I like this one the best so far. So, other than burning my finger on the glue, I think it came together pretty well. Okay, we also have these single bits that we're going to add as well. Almost forgot those. I got so excited that my flowers look okay that I forgot. Okay, we're just going to add a few of these. Don't think we need too many. In fact, I don't know that I like him there. All right, maybe one more over there. I don't want to completely cover up the brick. Okay, if I ever figure out what glue that is, I'm going to warn y'all so that you don't buy it. Okay. All right, there we go. Here's the other two. What do you think? What do you think at my attempt at Wisteria? I think that the one today is my favorite, and I think it's because there's two of the hanging. I think my husband thought this one was grapes, so I was like, okay, that's a fail. And this one was a little better. I put more of the singles, but I think I like this one that has the two hanging ones the best. It looks more like Wisteria. And when we shake that up, of course, we can see our whole word thinking. And I think I do like the white better than the black. All right, let's go ahead and turn the camera around. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Today was a little wild ride. You're kind of, I'm learning right along with you on this one, but I hope that some of my tips will help you tackle this flower if you ever decide to give it a try. And like I said, if you have some tips on making the wisteria, I would love to hear them. And I think that is pretty much all I have for you today. I forgot. I have one more thing. I will be going live tomorrow. That is Thursday. And I will be bringing you a Whimsy stamp, and a Whimsy stamps card, and I will be going live on Carrie Lee Creations YouTube channel. So this will be my first time going live on my personal channel. So if you're free tomorrow at noon, please hop in there and join me, and I would love to see you there. So, all right, until next time, create for the fun of it. Bye-bye.